Greetings and welcome to SC Thrive's Mental Health Matters Forum. We want to remind you that our forum is on the second and fourth Thursday of every month at 11:30 a.m. Each forum is a new conversation. Today's forum is Caring for the Caregiver. The mission of SC Thrive is to lead South Carolinians to stability by providing innovative and efficient access to quality of life resources. Again, our subject today is caring for the caregiver.
Caregivers come in all shapes and sizes, male, female, young, middle-aged, and older. We all have the issue of helping with daily activities for another person due to impairments commonly related to old age, disability, disease, or a mental disorder. Generally speaking, caregivers don't have any formal training, and it's an unpaid role to help a family member, a neighbor, or a friend. According to the National Alliance for Caregiving, 53 million people in the United States are caregivers. And you know, caregivers have important qualities. They tend to be big-hearted, sensitive, responsible, well-intentioned, people who are motivated by taking a deep satisfaction in doing right by their loved one. Ken Robbins, a geriatric psychiatrist from the University of Wisconsin, says that unfortunately, it's often one piece is caring for a person, but the other part is caring for ourselves. In one morning, one phone call, we can jump into being the role of a caregiver. And we often begin to start thinking about the immediate needs of our loved ones, our friends, or our neighbors. And we miss the reality of how long this caregiving time can go on. The role of caregiving can go on for decades. It can be arduous, and it can be consuming. These are statistics provided by the Center for Disease Control. Caregiving can be emotionally and physically demanding. Think about this. Over 14% of caregivers reported that they had 14 or more unhealthy days a month. That's half of a month. Another staggering statistic is that over 17% felt that they had physically unhealthy days in the past month. And almost double those, 37%, felt that they had trouble getting enough sleep. In our previous forums, we talked constantly about having the right people around us, having people to encourage us. Stress is a really tough variable, and it comes in different shapes and sizes. They're big emotions, and they have different triggers. It's tempting to push these feelings away, but what we have to realize is if we push them away, they're just going to snowball, and we have to address them. That's the first step in dealing with them. Recognizing that these items are common and they're normal. In one of our previous forums, we talked about how it's okay to be broken. Later on in this program, we're going to talk about dealing with the guilt of being a caregiver. We're going to talk about loneliness. We're going to talk about grief. And sometimes we're going to talk about defensiveness, because there are going to be people that are friends of ours, that are acquaintances, that are going to be asking us questions about the caregiving that we're providing. And it's easy to become defensive. If we can accept that these feelings are inevitable, it will help us figure out how to deal with them better. You know, doing so helps our emotions to not completely take over our lives and result in harm to us and the people that we're caring for. I love being on the beach, and we have talked about how important it is to have go-to people in our lives. And this woman has two people that are her go-to people. You know, it may be that we need help from people from a support group. One of the greatest pieces of my caring for my mom and my dad was being part of a support group. And right now with COVID-19 going on, those care groups still exist. But a lot of times they may be online, such as using Zoom using Zoom as a way to get to those care groups. And you know, caring is a big thing, but so is crying. And it's all right to have that cry. It's all right to have that time, because we're going to have sunny days and we're going to have dark days. You have to have a go-to person. You have to have that person that you can reach out and touch. And you know, we shouldn't feel guilty about the times where we have that humorous moment, where we are with that person that we're caring for, and we find some way to have a humorous time to laugh, because laughter is great medicine. And not only does laughter help us, but it can also help the person we're caring for. Giving them an opportunity to laugh and smile is so huge. Last forum, we talked about the light on our dash that tells us that our fuel is low. Sometimes our check engine light's going to come on, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment as well. It's not realistic to eliminate all the worries and frustrations that come with caregiving. While it's natural to focus on what went wrong, it's also good to look at what went well. What are some of the things that are going to be future challenges? Recognizing, appreciating, and celebrating these victories, both small and big, is an effective way to reduce stress and boost our mood. You know, in our previous forums, we talked about journaling and how big that is. I'm going to tell you up front, taking the thoughts in my mind and writing them down in a journal is a challenge. Not only is it writing them down, but also taking the time to write them down is big as well. But you know, today you may be caring for somebody. You may want to write down, finally today I was able to help my mom or dad take a shower and change clothes. Finally today I was able to help dad take all of his medicine, even though he didn't want to. Finally today I was able to be calm while managing cleaning up a mess. Finally I was able to get myself and the person I'm caring for out of the house and to a doctor's appointment on time. The other piece of having a journal is we can revisit the challenges that we had as we face the challenges ahead of us and say, you know what? I made it through these challenges and I can make it through this challenge that's in front of me. In addition to our accomplishments, also track the things that occurred through the day that made us grateful. So here it is, that engine light, those lights that pop up in front of us while we're driving down the road. We may not know how to handle it. If one of these warning lights comes on, we're immediately alerted, because we don't want to end up stranded somewhere. We may not know exactly what all the warning symbols are on our dash. And if one of them lights up, we know that it needs our attention. This is when we may have to pull over and take a break and read the manual to find out what the problem may be. You know, we're going to talk about the manual of being a caregiver. And when you get thrown into the time of being a caregiver, you may not have time to read the manual. There may not be a manual in front of you. And unfortunately, it's true, but still there are warning signs that let us know that we may be headed for caregiver burnout. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. You know, it's a good time every day to take a moment, whether that be 6 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, to just say, how did the day go? Just check in with ourselves, because it's during that time that we may be able to see the signs and symptoms of what we sometimes term as burnout. So what does burnout look like? Unchecked caregiver stress often contributes to burnout. It can look like depression, it can look like anxiety, or it can look like other mental health issues. Caregiver burnout is a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. It can cause caregivers to make mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes every day. I'm not good at multitasking. And caring for my mother and dad and caring for other people, I've made a lot of mistakes. Burnout can occur when we as caregivers don't get the support we need. That letter that arrives in the mail about a financial need, the physical challenges that we have when we tried to lift the person up that we're caring for and we hurt ourselves, or both. Caregivers often focus so intently on the needs of the person we're caring for that we neglect our own health and wellness. So what are some of those things? Lack of sleep, getting sick, not taking care of ourselves, giving up on hobbies that we really enjoy. You may play tennis, you may play golf, you may read books, you may watch movies, you may find yourself being moody, you may find yourself crying. And one thing that we've brought up in other forums is we hope that the last thing you'll do and get a check of is not involving yourself in substance abuse. When we get on a plane, it's a success for us. Traveling is tough, and the stewardess is going to tell us what to do in case of an emergency. When we get thrown into being a caregiver, we may not have an emergency plan. We may not know what to do. It's important for us to step back, to put our own mask on first, to take deep breaths. We may have to step out for a minute. We may get a phone call in the middle of the night that says we have to go to the emergency room because somebody we love is in trouble. And we need to take a minute, take a deep breath, and think about, how am I going to accomplish this task? But we can't accomplish it alone. We have to reach out to people to help us. So what are some of those people? What are some of the things that they can do? One of the things that somebody can do is be a manager for us. Somebody to help us look at the big picture. Something else that somebody can do is be the record keeper, or to be the declutterer, or to be the social networker, or the distractor. Two of these things I am not good at. I am not good at record keeping, and I am not good at clutter. It's very tough for me to keep things straight, and it's very tough for me to keep records of things. So those are some of the things that when somebody says, how can I help? It's tough for us to admit we need help, but when they say, how can I help? We can give these jobs off to them. Also decide which of these roles you would be good in, because your neighbor, like mine, I just recently lost my next door neighbor, and there were things that he needed help with. Sometimes it just meant cutting the grass, keeping his lawnmower running, or sometimes, especially with COVID, it meant just going out and buying groceries for them. Bringing them groceries was huge, and it really meant a lot to them, and it meant a lot to me. So here's a quote from Tia Walker. Caregiving often calls us to lean into love we didn't know was possible. We're going to talk about running the race. Sometimes we may not feel that we have it in us, but when we dig down deep, we're going to find that we do have the strength to get through it. Caregiving can be the most demanding, draining, stressful, and underappreciated job you've ever accepted. What often makes the difference between the two is how caregiving plans to take care of, how we can take care of our own mental and physical health as we sustain the person we're caring for through their time. Rob Lowe, we've seen him on TV, we've seen him in the movies. And Rob Lowe had to care for his mom when she had cancer. And he said that one of the hidden gifts of being a caregiver is that you're with them, that you're able to do and say all those things at the proper time. Caring for my mom and dad was huge, and it was priceless. I was able to care for my dad. I had 2 dad days. One dad day we went to Kiwanis, and the other dad day we went out to eat, and they were huge. So what are some of the things that you can do for yourself, and what are some of the things you can do for the person you're caring for? You know, when you got that phone call to go to the emergency room to care for that person, or when you got that phone call to come over to their house, you may not have had time to pack your bag. There are a lot of things that I have to put in my bag when it's time to travel. It may be a book, it may be a music, it may be sunscreen, sunglasses, it may be having our own toiletries and clean underwear. We plan for sightseeing excursions. We make a list and we check it twice. When I told you about my dad days, those were sightseeing excursions for my dad. They were huge. They were so important. They were really big for us to have time to get in the car, enjoy our day, and be out with each other. Find ways to exercise. Find ways to keep your employer in the loop. Don't be afraid to share your deep down feelings with your employer, because they're going to see you in your transparent mood. Speak from the heart and let them know what you're going through. And they may very well come to you and help you through what you're going through. Eva, we've been through a lot of information. What are some things that people have posted on the chat?
Well, I did post a couple of questions. One question was, do you think you're being selfish if you put your needs first? And I actually had some people to chime in. And Lizeth said that it depends in situations and the case, because if someone relies on you to provide them with care, but you are not physically or mentally prepared or able to, how do you expect to provide the best care for that individual who is in need of care from you?
That's really big. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment with Kay Knopf. Kay, we're so glad to have you. Thank you for coming back and being with us on this forum, because one of the things that we're going to talk about in just a little bit is the whole idea of respite care and asking other people to help us care for our loved ones. Kay, you've got a special occasion for us. Over the next 3 minutes, you're going to share with us an important piece that we all can use while we're caring for people.
Thank you, George, and thank you for all that you do for everyone, and having me back to talk a little bit and share some of the information that I have. Today, like you had spoken about, I do have a tool that's very helpful for individuals in a lot of cases, a lot of situations, because it's something that you can do anywhere, anytime, where you can find just a couple of moments for yourself, whether that's hiding in the bathroom, in the shower, in your bedroom. You know, it's especially right now when we're confined to home in many cases, it's just a very versatile tool. So it's called the short body scan. It's a 3-minute body scan. And the exercise is a great way to help reconnect yourself to your physical being. It promotes a deepening of self-awareness, inner peace, and calmness. The practice is basically a way for you to get your mind a quick break from everything that's happening around you and to relax in a way that is meaningful and healthy for at least 3 minutes. When we're really stressed out, our physical responses are often shown in an increased heart rate, increased respirations, tight muscles, a heightened alertness with the things around us. The simple act of taking a few slow, deep breaths by itself can decrease your heart rate, your respirations, relax your muscles, and then refocusing your mind on your body instead of all the things happening around you can help calm yourself, and then help refocus, your mind on those other things in a little different mindset, in a calmer state after you're done. So the body scan is really beneficial tool for many, many people to help mitigate the harmful effect of stress. And that's like acute stress or cumulative stressors. Many of us as caregivers face both. So make sure that you're in a comfortable position with your feet flat on the floor. And let's begin. Let's begin by bringing your attention to your body. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, but it's not required. I want you to notice your body seated wherever you are, feeling the weight of your body on the chair. Let your spine lift a little and your shoulders soften. And now I want you to let your mind settle on your body and notice your physiological sensations. That's like your muscle, the state of your muscles. Are your muscles tight? Are they relaxed? And also notice your emotions that might be present. Begin taking a slow, full breath. Being aware of we want your belly to rise and keep your chest kind of at a not moving. Breathe into your belly so you can take a nice, big, deep, cleansing breath. And then slowly release that breath out through your mouth. Now I want you to bring your awareness to the top of your body, to your head, your face, your neck, and your shoulders. What are you feeling in those areas? Notice any tension that may be in those areas. Things like clenching teeth, tightness in your jaw, tightness in your neck and your shoulders. Now I want you to take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, while relaxing those areas. Feeling yourself just let those areas loosen. Notice any sensations or movements in any places that you may be holding tension. Now moving down to your arms, your hands, your fingers. Take time to think about the senses that you're feeling in those areas. What are you sensing? Any tightness? Any tension? While you're focused on those areas, I want you to take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, making your belly rise, and then out through your mouth, slowly letting out the air while your belly falls. And now release any of that. As you're sensing, make sure you're releasing that tension if possible. Now sense the back of your body, your back all the way up and down your spine, into the back of your shoulders. Notice any tension that you might be carrying there. And take a deep breath in through your nose. Slowly out through your mouth. Noticing your body relax. The back of your body relax as you release that air. Now sense the front of your body, your chest, your abdomen. Notice any tension in those areas. And then take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Slowly release it out through your mouth. And relaxing any tension that you're feeling. Now sense yourself being seated. You want to feel the contact of your body with the chair or the cushion that you're sitting on. Now sensing your upper legs and your lower legs and your feet. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, releasing any tensions that you might be sensing in those areas. Notice if there are any particular places that call out for attention in your body. What areas may still be really tense? I want you to focus on those areas for just a second. And then take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, releasing it slowly. And try to relax those areas. Now, places where sensations feel most vibrant or most dynamic in your body. Notice those areas. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. And slowly release it. Now scan any more places that you might find that have a lack of sensation or very faint sensations. Sensing your whole body now and taking a slow, deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. So now this is the end of our body scan. We're going to take one last big, deep cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, very slowly. Feeling your body, taking the air in and releasing it. So one thing that I'd like you to think about in reflecting on this exercise is, what did you sense about yourself when you were scanning your body? When you're assessing yourself on a regular basis, you can use this as a guide to help you determine what level of or how much self-care you need in a day. So for instance, if you feel that you were more tense than normal during this body scan, then you may want to, do more self-care than you would normally do in one particular day. Then maybe at another time when you're not feeling as stressed or not carrying as much tension. So not only is this a good way to check in with yourself, but it's also a way to help alleviate some of the stresses that you are feeling.
Hey, we really appreciate that. There's a lot of free websites out there that people can take time out. Imagine, folks, that was just 3 minutes that we took out of our day, and it's so important that we stop and take time for ourselves. Kay, we mentioned and we saw in the chat people speaking about caregiver guilt and guilt for not doing enough for their care receiver. Maybe not always being there, feeling guilty because they took time out for their family or work or other relationships. What are some good ways that a caregiver can set some of that guilt aside?
I think that it's a very, very common feeling that individuals have when they're caring for a loved one. The guilt of, taking time away from what they need to be doing for their loved one in order to care for themselves. And one of the things I like to have people consider is something called a circle of concern and influence. And this was an idea that was posed by Stephen Covey. I'm sorry, I say his name wrong sometimes. In his book, the book's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But I think what he says in there is so effective for almost any situation when you talk about the circle of concern and influence. And so the circle of concern is basically, it includes a range of things that you as an individual worry about. It's all your worries basically in one. And it's all different levels of worries. So things that would go in your circle of concern might be, global warming, the state of the economy, clothes that you're wearing, attitudes in society, the organization or work or that you work for, things that your colleagues do, the way your family members behave, your finances, financial status, your health, the health of your loved one, your daily schedule. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. The actual list it depends on, it's variable for any individual. Every person has different things that they have to deal with and they worry about. But the most important thing to understand is that there's little you can do about many of these things since they're outside your influence. They're not within your circle of influence. So devoting energy to those things is really a waste of time. The equivalent of shouting at your television. I mean, it doesn't really do anything. It may get some energy out for yourself, but that's expending energy on something that's not going to have a change or make a difference. So recognizing that your time and energy can be spent, that once your time and energy has been spent, you can't really recover that. It can't be reused. And it's really important when we are caregivers and when we need to be caring for ourselves that we really focus on the things that will be best utilization of our time and energy. The circle of influence, on the other hand, is much smaller and it includes things that you can do something about. The extent just depends on what you're talking about, but it's things like, planning for a meal or taking a walk or taking a moment to take a deep breath. Very small things, but things that are well within our control. Recognizing those things and focusing your energies on things that you can influence and that are within your circle of influence will enable you to make more effective and efficient use of your time, your energy, and helps you become more productive and accomplish the things that you need to accomplish. But in that, we also need to recognize that we're not superhuman and that when faced with caregiving, we're in a marathon, we're not in a sprint in many cases, and that we have to have compassion for ourselves and be kind to ourselves, recognizing our limitations, recognizing our circle of influence, and understand what that compassion feels like. Many times caregivers, we are very compassionate people. We care for our significant other, or our family member, or whoever that is our individual we're taking care of, our parents. We take really good care of them. We're very compassionate for what they're going through. but we're not very compassionate, and we beat ourselves up because we don't feel like we're ever doing enough. You know, you just constantly have to do something else and something else, and you don't give yourself a break. You're always thinking about the what if I did this and what if I could do that, and the woulda, shoulda, couldas is not an effective way to utilize our energy. So bringing yourself back to the present, what you can influence, and making sure that you're kind to yourself and you forgive yourself for just being human and not being able to do absolutely everything, not being some sort of superhuman, I feel is just essential.
Yeah, and you know, my mother-in-law just went through retina surgery, and it was right after March 1st, and it was during the COVID scare, and she is in one of those risk areas, and she was very concerned about her separation from others, and that was a big adapting time, as you said. My wife and I, we were constantly asking ourselves, are we doing enough? And then when we did have to care for her, just driving her to the doctor and that, and making sure that we were taking the right precautions and wiping the car down and all these things, that it was pretty tough. And one of the things that never came across to us was, were we taking care of ourselves? So how does somebody in this time of COVID-19, how do we make sure that we're practicing that self-care piece?
Well, I think time management is critical for anybody who's a caregiver. You have so many things to do in a day. And so a huge part of time management is prioritizing yourself and making sure that you put yourself and your self-care needs in that schedule, that routine schedule. There are so many things that we can't plan for, and I can guarantee you that self-care is the first thing that's going to be checked off if you've got to add another task to your day and replace something, because we don't place enough value on that as caregivers. But we have to recognize that as caregivers, we have to take care of ourselves in order to take care of others. So a vehicle, for instance, you can do great maintenance on it, but if you don't have a driver to take care of it, to drive the vehicle, it's not going to go anywhere. Nothing is going to get accomplished. It's the same way sort of with a caregiver, that, you know, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't do for others. And it's essential in recognizing that and prioritizing that. And again, making sure that you are kind to yourself. And if you miss something, recognizing that that's normal for being human, you can learn from whatever you maybe missed, but don't beat yourself up about it that you missed something. So for instance, you taking your mother-in-law to have the surgery and having the concern about COVID being out there, we don't know what, you know, COVID, we don't know all the details and finite details that are going on with COVID. We do the best we can, and you have to be accepting that that is within your circle of influence to do the best you can, and you have to let the rest of it go. I know it's easier said than done many times, but it's really important that we recognize that, and self-kindness and self-care are just essential and priorities.
Here at SC Thrive, as we said in our mission statement, we provide a lot of access to resources. And one of the things that we've really found since COVID hit is we're trying to help people that sometimes are not used to asking for help. They may be of a higher income level and not typically reach out for funding and assistance. And so how do we help those people know that it's okay to ask for help? You know, we talked about some of the things that people can, some of the jobs that we can give people who ask us, can I help? But how do we encourage people to finally get to that point before it's their breaking point? How do we get them to ask for help?
Well, you know, stress happens to everybody. It doesn't matter your financial status or your where you are in life, what kind of job you have, or anything like that. Stress happens to everybody. the level of stress just depends on your situation. I think recognizing where you are and doing that, being aware of your personal stress, is critical for that. But then also being willing to ask others, recognizing that you need relief, that everybody needs relief, and that we are human, is another factor. And just recognizing that there are sources out there that, again, no matter your social status or your income or anything like that, it doesn't matter. We're still human, and that need is there, and that it's critical in order for you to maintain your own physical and mental wellness, to get some sort of relief. And asking for care is not only good for that relief, but also the social aspect of that. A lot of times you gain something from it. You gain, a knowledge of something that you could do differently. Maybe you gain information, maybe you're in a peer group, and those peers are doing, dealing with the same situation you are, but maybe they do it something a little bit different that might be really more effective for you. That collaborative piece is also really important. And it's really important for the receiver of your care. They're going to benefit from that, and recognition that the things that you learn by reaching out to others who are in the same situation can help you as well.
That's huge. The other piece is we're getting to a point it's time for people to start taking vacations during the summer. And we're fortunate, there's a couple folks that are on the forum today that are from respite organizations, and we're thankful that you're here. Kay, when it comes to reaching out to a respite organization so that we can have that weekend or week at the beach or whatever it may be, what does that look like? How do we overcome the guilt of making that phone call and knowing that the person we're caring for is going to be maybe in that hospital bed while we're at the beach? How do we engage with a respite company?
Well, I think recognizing that respite care is a break, like you said, it's a break for the caregiver. It is a part of your self-care. I kind of see respite care as part of self-care. It gives that opportunity for temporary relief, that allows time for you to focus on yourself, time to heal from all the physical and emotional and mental stresses of 24/7 care, and help replenish or restore your energy and promote your balance in your life and sense of well-being. I think that's crucial for people to have a little bit of time away, and to get that and gain that sense of refocus and rejuvenation. So again, this is a marathon in many cases, and it's not a sprint. And so you have to refuel yourself, sort of. So, like that runner in the marathon stopping to get Gatorade or whatever, sugary drink to help their muscles make it through the race. It's the same kind of idea, except you're looking at it from a different perspective of being a caregiver and making it, another 6 months without harming yourself too much.
The other piece, I told you about caring for my next door neighbor and I have another friend that was on hospice, and when I was helping her out, it was easy to take care of her physical needs, but it was tough to I wasn't focused on her mental health needs, and those times of just listening to her. How do we address that? In addition to taking care of the person, in addition to taking care of our mom or dad's or whoever's physical needs, how do we help them with their mental health needs?
I think in some cases, talking with them about their own personal self-care, if they're coherent and you're able to talk to them, helping them recognize the importance of self-care and teaching them some self-care techniques, is important, but that also helps them become more accepting of you, and in some cases of taking care of yourself and helping, you can have that partnership with the person you're caring for in taking care of yourself and having them take care of themselves. Also, demonstrating self-care for others, if they're able to recognize that, is really important, because we often can live by example and show things by example, as opposed to just talking about it and telling someone you need to do this, or things like that. So I think that's one important piece. But there are many cases where you may not be able to have that conversation with someone about how to take care of themselves, or they may not know how to care for their mental well-being, and have that emotional component to it. And I think that's sometimes a challenge. But trying to make sure that you remain as calm and as caring and compassionate as possible through self-care can be the greatest care for them that you can give.
Eva, you've heard from her folks. She is running our chat, and she's one of the key people that helps me keep going on these forums. Eva, you've been at home with 3 kids and other family members. It's 24 hours a day, and Kate, some people, they will bring the person they're caregiving, that they're caring for, they may bring them from their house from the person that needs care, bring them to their house, or they may actually move in with that other person. How do people like Eva get relief? How do you find somewhere to take a deep breath, to do that 3-minute breathing exercise? What does that look like?
Well, George, I'll tell you what my 3 minutes looks like. It could be just sitting in my closet for 3 minutes of quiet time. It could just be going to the grocery store with nobody, or just getting in my car and listening to music, my own personal channel. And sometimes that's all it takes. Or just sitting on my back porch and watching my dogs run. The little things in life, you don't realize how important they are until you have 6 other people in the house with you, and they all need you at the same time.
Julia, you've sort of been you've sort of caught it from both sides. You're working, helping you're helping first responders deal with the things that they're seeing out there every day. You're working with nursing students, and then you have your own family. And what are some of the things that you're doing to maintain your sanity under one roof?
Well, I think patience is a virtue. And sometimes getting that patience means that I have to stay very grounded in things. You have to work at patience. It's not something that just comes naturally, at least in my world. I found in the past couple of years that deep breathing is really, really helpful for me. And I do that in the shower in the mornings. That's usually a time when there's nobody else around, nobody's bothering me. And I like nice long showers. And I found that by practicing deep breathing on a regular basis, when I do have my children running down the stairs while I'm on a conference call screaming because they're fighting with one another about something, somebody looked at somebody the wrong way, that I can take a second, I'll catch myself now taking a deep breath and just letting it go, and then being able to engage with them and not just immediately yelling at them. And so I've also found myself in the professional world doing something, so many people are very frustrated right now, and helping them to recognize that if they just stop and take a deep breath, that it can at least help calm them a little bit from when your emotions are running really high, it's hard to think clearly and think through things. So sometimes taking a couple of deep breaths can just calm just enough to be able to get your bearings. It doesn't take an emotional response away, but it just gets your bearings. And now that's deep breathing is my thing. That's my go-to. But it may vary from person to person. You really just have to figure out, play with different things and figure out what works for you, what calms you, and what can you do in the moment to calm you. Because a lot of times you don't have 3 to 5 minutes to think about something, but you do have a couple of seconds, and a deep breath is something you can do in a couple of seconds. I also like to listen to music a lot, like Eva was talking about earlier. Cooking dinner at nighttime and listening to my tunes and the things that I like to hear is relaxing to me. And so that's another way that I help just get through activities. I hate folding laundry, so I often will put my headphones in and listen to music when I'm folding laundry too. So there's all different things. Whatever makes you relax at any point in your life, try to engage yourself somehow with that and incorporate that into whatever you're doing that stresses you out, and maybe that will be helpful.
I'll tell you one sign that I have in my office is a tube of toothpaste, and it has eyes and a face on the tube of toothpaste. And it's a constant reminder that toothpaste is just like words. If we don't take a couple seconds to think about what we're getting ready to say, we can't take it back. And it's just like toothpaste. Once you squeeze that toothpaste, you can't put it back in. And so counting to 4, biting our tongues, sometimes it's a fine art. Kate, I'm really thankful that you took time to be with us. I'm so thankful for everybody to be on the forum today. I'm especially thankful for the folks from the respite associations. One of them brought up the voucher plans. So please, if you're reaching out to somebody, if you're reaching out to a respite company, ask them about their voucher plan. And again, thank you all so much for being here. We look forward to you being back with us in 2 weeks on the second Thursday at 11:30. Please come. You see our phone number. You also see our website. Please reach out to us. We'll have some of the resources about today on our website. Have a great day.